All right, all right. So we back once again. Once again, special guest today. Listen, so I met this guy along with when I first met Miles and Jake, and he's kind of like in their circle. And from the UPT,
Yep.
right, Chris?
Yep.
Okay, the UP. And explain once we get into, I want you to explain a little bit. We call it the UP. I only learned that from you guys, so I know what it is. But I'm sure there's people probably in Baltimore City or Texas, different places. Like, what the fuck is the UP? So we'll get into that. But I heard like this guy, like, and he's so like kind of like a laid back dude to himself. So, but I've been hearing all these wild stories. I'm like, Chris? They like Chris. I'm like, fuck that. Get him on. I got to know what happened. So Chris, so first of all, explain to us the UP. Explain just what part of the country that's in, just to give us a reference.
All right. Well, it's more of a touristy town. It's a small town. Upper Michigan. A lot of people say Upper Michigan and they think like Traverse City, but we're way north of that. I explained it the best way by saying we're about 4 hours north of Green Bay, Wisconsin,
Okay.
whereas a lot of maps have us as Canada.
Oh, so you that close? So you
Part
really
of
that
it, yeah.
close to almost leaving America? Wow.
Yep.
Fuck yeah. That's the UP. That's up. That's that with Upper Peninsula. Is that what UP
Yep.
means?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So listen. Now with all the niceties and shit out the way, I got to hear this story. So guys, stay with us. Real shit. Like real shit, bro. People gonna call me about this one. Just stay with me. I don't know no more than what y'all know, but I just know we gotta hear this story. So he gonna start and bring us along, and as he bring us along, we all learning together. We all learning together on this. All right, so Chris, go ahead. Tell us what this is. It a prison escape?
Jail escape.
Jail escape. Okay, go
It's
ahead.
I believe Eagle River. Eagle River was the town. It's a small town. There's maybe 4 cells in this jail.
Okay.
It's supposed to be the last jail in the country where the sheriff actually lives at the jail.
Wow.
Like his house is attached to the jail.
Fuck.
So what happened was the day before was 4th of July. So me and my buddy were driving out to out towards Eagle River, Copper Harbor, where everyone goes to party and fireworks and everything. Well, I had just previously gotten out of jail, like a week before that, for some other stuff, and I didn't have a license. So I was driving on a suspended license,
Okay.
drinking a little bit. Me and him were driving out there. Passed up many chances to ride with other people, but we waited too long, so we just ended up driving ourselves out there. State cop tries to pull me over because I was just chit chatting and didn't realize that I was doing like 20 over the speed limit.
Oh,
So
that'll do it.
immediately, as soon as he saw us, he flipped the lights on, whipped around. So I figured there's enough corners and everything in the road, I'd try to get away. Well, I ended up blowing out a tire in a corner and hitting the ditch,
Jesus.
and then fled on foot. Obviously, my buddy didn't. He was probably in shock.
He stayed there?
He stayed there. So
He didn't run.
No, he didn't run. I did. I was gone. And then I ended up running through the woods for a while and hitching a ride back to my house, which took probably, half the night.
Okay.
So I get home, and obviously my buddy was there, so he told the cops who I was, everything was going on. They called my dad, they called me, so by the time I got home, they already knew who I was. They wanted me to turn myself in, and I went home, went to bed pretty much, deal with it the next morning.
Okay. He's like, yeah, I go to jail tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay.
So, go to deal with it the next time. Turn myself in, all that stuff. They get me in jail, or not quite in jail, or just everything in, but they get me in a cell and booked and everything. And I got court the next day. Well, court the next day, the judge denies me bail. So,
Damn.
obviously, I saw that coming because the fleeing and eluding with a police officer, they're not going to trust you. You're not going to try to do it again. So, they walked me back to the jail where my dad was, and they had like a front office, and they sat me down, talked to my dad for a little bit, before they brought me back again, which is nice of them. And I straight up told him, I was like, man, I don't want to be in here anymore. Like, I just got out. I'm not ready to be back in here already. And, it's a whole different jail than I was the previous time. And he's like, well, you're in trouble now. You got to stay here now. And that was, pretty much it. They sent him away, brought me in the back because they had some more stuff to deal with. It's a small town, small jail, so it's like one guard running the whole jail.
Mm-hmm.
And then all I can remember is I was like nervous and I was like picking at my thumb. So my thumbnail was bleeding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they go to walk me out from the jail to finish the booking process. And the guard on duty got the phone started ringing. So he's like, oh crap. He looks at me, says, stay right here. And I'm in the middle of a hallway. Says, stay right here. I got to go answer the phone. So he runs in the back to answer the phone. And I'm looking around like, oh, fuck, I don't want to be here.
You keep saying that. You keep saying that. No, you standing on that shit. You don't want to be, because you told your dad that earlier.
Yep.
People ain't listening. And they still got you in this motherfucker. So you keep saying it. So you ain't lied about them. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So he's on the phone. It feels like a while to me, but it's probably a few seconds. So I walked up the hallway, walked right past where they put like my tennis shoes and shit in my locker, opened it up, put my shoes on, walked out the front door. There was nobody else in the jail, nobody outside. I just went straight for the woods.
You realize, right? you realize you can have no melanin in your skin for shit like that to happen, right? Like you listen. I've had my run-ins. No one ever was like, "Hey, stand here, don't move." They chaining you to something like, "Hey, stand here, don't move," but I'm gonna chain you to this in the event you want to move.
No,
so you just walked out, and they had your shoes in a locker.
Yep.
Like a skating rink or some shit.
Yep, exactly. Just like an old school locker. Just had all my stuff sitting there, so I just grabbed it and put it on. When I got outside, there's nobody there. I had time to kneel down, tie my shoes, and then I just booked it.
Yeah. He getting himself together and shit. I want to look good on the run. I want to look neat on the run, because in the event it's pictures, I want to. But all right. So after you get your shit together outside of the police station.
Yep.
All right. Fuck. Okay. And then you do you run or just stroll? Just walk off?
I just started running immediately. It was kind of an open courtyard. Like the judge that just denied me bail, I ran past him, like because they were getting out of the court. Like, it was the jail, and then the courthouse, and there's like a courtyard between them, and everyone was just leaving the court from all the proceedings we just had. Denied me bail. I literally ran right in front of him, like.
So that and he's like, didn't I just sentence him? Just sentence that boy.
Yep.
So okay.
So to start off with the running, after I got through that, there's like a main bridge that everyone, it's a big creek underneath that everyone stops to take pictures. Mm-hmm. Well, there was people on the bridge, so like I just ran to the right of it and through the woods a little bit. Well, I ended up going all the way down the gully and back up through the creek, which I went through the water, which tends to help you on the run, throw off set and everything. I ended up running through the woods. There's like we're right off coast, Lake Superior. So there's a big coast there. So I ran for the coast. Figured it'd be a lot easier to run down the beach. Well, I got about 10 feet down the beach, and it was pretty much just jagged rock and trees.
So you realized you made a mistake.
Yep. So back in the woods a little bit, trying to keep somewhat with the coastline there, and I came along like a cabin. Right, I have no idea how long I've been running at that point. Exhausted already, tired, sweating. There's this cabin and the guy outside, and he asked me, "What's going on? Why are you running? What are you looking for?" And I told him, "Oh, I lost my dog on the beach, and I'm trying to find him." He's like, "Oh, okay. What color?" So he's like, "I was describing my dog to him." He brought me in, gave me some water, let me use the phone and everything. And then I was on my way. He's like, "Oh, well, I hope you find your dog." I just went right back into the woods. So there's multiple times where I crossed, houses and everything. It's 36 miles on the highway from where I ran to my house. And I just had like a general direction, like I knew to run. So occasionally I'd come like a road, I'd come out of the woods and I look both ways, make sure there's nobody around before I cross the road back in the woods. And one of them, I could see a car down the road and it was gravel, and I ran across into the woods. I just kept going as far as I could, got maybe 7,500 feet in the woods, and I could hear the car, like its brakes, I can hear them stop. And I just froze a little bit, turned around. I could see it was a squad car.
Fuck. So the police. Okay.
So I was just standing as still as possible.
At this point, you didn't want to make any noise.
Hoping they didn't see me through the woods.
Yeah.
And I saw them just start creeping back along again.
Wow.
So that was the first time where they probably could have easily caught up to me. And then I just kept running.
How long have you eaten? How long has it been since you eaten?
Eaten probably half a day by then. Because I just probably ate something when I left my house. You know, this is still the same day that.
Oh, okay.
The same morning and everything. And so I started into the woods. It's maybe been a few hours, and a few hours since then. So we're probably like, I don't know, 5-6 hours into the run, and there's a couple houses and another small bridge and a creek. So I go down to the creek and I get some water. And for some reason there was like a little hill upside the creek, and for some reason I went up that way. So I was gonna go up that and keep heading, that way. So I went up there, and the same thing. I hear a car pull up really fast and slam on the brakes, and I hear dogs. And then I'm looking over the edge of the top of the little hill, and it's cop dogs. Like, oh, this is it. This is where they get me right here. The dog's gonna bite my ass. Mm-hmm. So the officer lets the dogs out in a leash. They lead them down in the creek, and they're barking at the water, sniffing around. The dogs look directly up at me on the hill and just start going crazy. And the cop literally said, "Shut up, you dumb dogs," and dragged him back to the fucking car and drove off.
So the dog's like, he's right there, motherfucker. He's right there. Him, right there. He's like, "Man, shut the fuck up, you dumb dog." He's like, "Listen. He's right there. This motherfucker."
Like quality
so you
canine
just
training.
Still, you just was like this and sure like,
yeah, just sitting still.
And so when he drug him back to the car, you're like, "I can't believe this."
Yeah, no, I was like, wow, that was, So I continued on my way, and then there's a house and like a bunch of farmland, because they had you could tell it was like they had horses there, and it was at a T from the road I was coming on. So I stopped there, drank some water to the hose, and I started going along again. And that was one of the few times where I chose to go along the road. And there was this family with a van that was coming the opposite way, and they stopped to see if I needed any help. And I told them, no, I'm just trying to get back to Houghton Hancock area. And they're like, "Well, you're going the wrong way." I was like, looked around. Fuck. Do you need a ride? Well, now I do. So I hopped in. They gave me a ride. They were just going to Calumet, so that's still like 10, 15 miles from where my house was. So they just dropped me off alongside of the road in Calumet. I pretended to walk up to a house, like, "Yeah, this is my house. Thanks, guys." And then after they took off, I continued on my way and just up and down streets and everything. And by then it's dark, so I'm not too worried about trying to hide or anything. And then I just ended up working my whole way back like that, and again into the woods, out of the woods, dark, just going in the general direction. And I didn't see any more cops that night. So eventually I got to my house, probably 3-4 in the morning, freezing cold, hungry, thirsty by then. First thing I did was just go to my house. I think I had a hot dog when I got home because that was the easiest thing to cook. I woke up my dad just by being there, and he's like, "What the hell did you do?" I was like, "I told you I didn't want to be in there anymore." Like, yeah. He's like, "Okay, we'll deal with this in the morning." He went right back to sleep. I went right to my bed.
So, but no, I'm saying, hold on. So your dad know you escaped from jail, right?
Oh yeah.
And everyone's looking for you. Like, just eat a hot dog and
Yep.
go
He
back
just
to
did.
sleep.
He
We'll
woke
talk
up.
about
He
it
didn't
in the
want to deal
morning.
with it. Yep. So he went back to sleep.
Okay.
I went back to my bed. I was asleep for maybe a couple hours, and I woke up to my dogs barking. And my house, or my room in the house, was front facing, so I had a front window. So I just peek out the window, and 4 or 5 cop cars coming down the driveway. Well, fuck, that's for me. So threw on my shoes again. Went out the back door and straight line in the woods, so they couldn't come around and see the way I was going. And it's maybe 5 miles from town. Once again, going through the woods, and I went and stopped at a friend's house because I knew he was wanting to, a friend's house in town, so I knew he wanted to leave town at the same time, so I figured, if possible, I was going to hitch a ride with him. And then I got to his house, and he changed his mind, and I'm pretty sure his mom called the cops.
Oh,
because
fuck,
after
'cause
he's like, he changed his mind. Where he's like, all right, I need to keep moving. I need to get out of here. As I was leaving there, cops were knocking on the front door. So like, again, it was extremely close. No idea how they knew to go there unless someone actually called them. And then I started zigzagging back to my house through town, and like you could see like through roadways and everything between houses to the next door and everything, and like they narrowed down where I was again because I could see a cop car like the next block down, like kind of following where I am. So I went through the yard, close to where that cop was, and then he actually saw me, and I ended up going to another yard. He got out and started chasing me, and then I remember going into like someone's basement, thinking I could hide for a minute or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I chose like the one basement that didn't have like an upstairs door.
It was just a basement, like you had no way out.
So like I literally just trapped myself, and then when I went to go back out the basement door, the cop was on the edge of the yard, but it's like a 4 or 5 foot like concrete wall because the yard was tapered. It's all kind of an uphill in that part of town, and he was struggling to get up the hill once he saw me. So that was my chance to take off from there again. So I ended up running down a trail which led to like the top of this, pretty much Quincy Hill. That part of Hancock, it all leads uphill, and then one side of it is actually ski hill, Mount Ripley. So I ended up going through there, and as I'm getting close to where the ski hill would be, I can't remember if I was on my phone or what I was doing, but I was looking down the whole time as I was walking, and I look up, and I'm 5 feet from a squad car. And as soon as I look up, he starts radioing, I found him, I'll get him right here. He literally told them, I will get him right here. Mm-hmm. And it's a gravel road, cop car, downhill, big gully. And I look at him, I'm looking down, I look at him, and he looks at me, he's like, don't do it. And I jump down, and the first like 5 feet of it was mud. So my foot got stuck right in the mud, and when I pulled it out, my shoe was gone. It's like, well, fuck, I don't have time to grab that. And then I start hopping down the mountain because I realize how muddy it is. I start kind of bouncing down, stumble a little bit, and I get to the bottom. I look up, and that cop was a larger guy. He's kind of a fat guy, and dude, he was just fucking rolling down the fucking mountain after me.
So he's like,
yeah, just tumbling. I'm like, oh shit. So at the bottom is a tree line. I start running through the trees again, getting close to where the actual ski hill is. And once again, as far as that aspect, the cops were pretty on top of it. Because as I'm coming to the ski hill, the tree line is, opening up for the whole ski hill. And I could see the cops pulling into the bottom. And so I just started going up the tree line, up the ski hill. And then I'll start hearing gunshots. Like, nah, they're just trying to scare me. Like, no, hell no. They were, like, I was hearing shit bouncing around me. They were legitimately shooting at the tree line as I was going up. And I'm 17, 145 pounds. Never touched a gun in my life at that point. Like,
and you didn't hurt anybody, right? Like,
no.
The fat cop did it. He was
like he pushed me down.
The fat cop said you pushed him. He was like, I would have caught him. That motherfucker.
I figured, at that point, they're fed up with me at that point.
He called officer down on that shit. He had laying at the bottom of the hill. Officer down, and they like, he did it. I'm sure, because they didn't shoot at you all night before this.
Right.
They had plenty of time.
So I started, after that, I sure as hell wasn't going to stop after that. Yeah. So I'm running at the tree line, and at the top of the ski hill, there's a trail, pretty well made trail that leads pretty much to my back door. Mm-hmm. So I took that all the way back to my house, barefoot, on one fucking foot. Mm-hmm. And I got, changed clothes, cleaned up. On the way to my house, it passes by my aunt's house, and I could see already through the field and everything, the cops were there at her house. So they were kind of trying to wait for me on the other end of the trail. Mm-hmm. Well, then I got past my aunt's house, went right to my house, fresh shoes and everything on. And then I was able to get hold of one of my friends, and they actually came and picked me up. So like what happened was the cops were at my house, and then they went directly to my aunt's house, which is just down the road from me. But they all left my house. So then I was at my house, there's no cops there. So one of my friends came and picked me up. I ducked down and drove right past the cops at my aunt's house through town. We figured they would, something like that, big deal, escape all that, they'd at least post a cop on the bridge. The only way out of that town is a 2-lane bridge. And Not a single cop in sight.
Because they thinking you a foot in the woods with one shoe.
Yep.
So they not thinking you going to run across the bridge. They not thinking nobody helping you.
Right, yep.
So you get out of town.
So I get out of town, and then I got another vehicle from a source. And I used that to get to like Green Bay, Appleton. And then, eventually to Milwaukee. And then left the car there for, them to come pick it up eventually. And I took a bus all the way to where I knew I had other friends at Rochester, Minnesota. And then I was there for maybe 6 months. It seems a lot longer than it was, but it wasn't really that long. So then I decided to try and, I want to try and go home. Try and figure things out. You usually
going to turn yourself
in?
in?
Or I was going to try and turn myself in on a plea deal. So, I'm still going to sit some time, but not as much time. Because I definitely made a mess. I made it so much worse by taking off everything. But I wasn't going to sit there. I was.
Yeah.
That time was.
You told him you didn't want to be here no more.
So I called the prosecutor in the town and made a deal with him. If I turned myself in, I would sit 1 year, which still sounds like a pretty shitty deal, but like compared to what they could give me, yeah. So I started making my way back. I went to go visit Miles in Kenosha because he was another buddy that was out of town that I knew. So I went there, stayed there for a few days. Contacted my dad to come pick me up so we can go make the deal. Well, by the time my dad picks me up, we leave, and maybe a block from Miles's house, the cops pull my dad over, immediately looking for me. So somewhere along the line, somebody said something. I have no idea who still. Somebody said something that told them that I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And like even in that small town, like very few people know Miles. There's no way anyone would have suspected that like I was going to go from where I did to there to his, at that time. So it's whatever though. At that point, I figured I'd still had the deal on the table. So I just let him arrest me. I was sitting in Kenosha jail, which is probably the biggest jail I've ever been in. Like that's actually a pretty big jail. Like, the kind of jail where they don't let you have your own underwear. Like
start doing jail ratings like travel off.
Did they tell you stand? Did they tell you stand right here and don't move?
Behind a lot more locked doors though.
Yeah.
It's so ended up sitting there for a week, maybe 2 weeks. Go through all the court stuff because they had to extradite me
back to the.
Yep. So the cops from there that I just left had to drive all the way down and pick me up, bring me back. Well, then we go through all the court stuff, and the whole denial till trial thing. You play it out, trying to get the best deal you can, because I was still under the idea that I was going to get that deal, but I was trying to get them to drop some of the, they tack on all sorts of extra charges, trying to make it look worse for you than it really is. Mm-hmm. So they had a bunch of stuff. So they actually charged me with felony escape on top of the fleeing and eluding, and then another fleeing and eluding for more fleeing and eluding. And, there's just, it was going on and on and on. And then they tried getting no insurance and plates and suspended license, a lot of little stuff that they know when you go to court, they're going to drop.
18 months here, 18, 6 months here.
Yep. So then they were so concerned that there was still going to be a chance that I got off on the charges that they kept alternating cellmates. Like, it's a small jail. So there's like 4 cells maybe total, maybe 3 only. Mm-hmm. And, a couple people in there at a time. So they would choose like my 2-person cell to keep alternating people out of them. Well, those people were trying to build like statements against me based on asking me questions, stuff like that to use against me. So I wouldn't have any
small talk.
Yeah, so I wouldn't have any room when it came to witnesses and stuff like that in court. Mm-hmm. So right before one of the court dates, my lawyer's like, okay, so we got a list of new witnesses, and it was long. Like there was not this many people.
Yeah, it's not even.
It was me and the guard for that one.
Yeah, you like it was just me and him. You like, where did these other people come from?
So that took away any possible attempt I had at legitimately beating some of the charges. Guilty or not guilty, and because it doesn't matter if you're guilty or not guilty. It matters what they can prove. That's what matters. So I ended up just pleading guilty to most of the stuff. You know, they dropped the stupid stuff like suspended license, all that. Thinking we're still on the agreement, because at that time they were still saying, you know, plead to these and you'll sit a year.
Get the year.
Well, when it came to sentencing, they must have not told the judge that, because the two big charges that they stuck on me, the fleeing and eluding and the escape, they gave me 1 year on each, which normally over a year you would get prison time. But because they did them consecutive,
You didn't get good.
you
time
sit 1 year and then you
start
sit another
a
year.
New bit for a new year.
Yeah, which is brutal for a county jail, because you don't get out of the cell. You really don't get anything. Well, while I was sitting in jail there, I ended up getting good time. I sat 20 months straight altogether, so they gave me 4 months good time. Well, like I said, the sheriff lives at the jail. Him and his wife and kids, they live on the house connected to the jail. So if I'm banging on my cell door, they can hear it. So I was the biggest asshole all the time at this jail. Because, then I'm 18. I'm pissed off about everything altogether. Mm-hmm. So, I started being an asshole to get my way with stuff. Because, we had a TV, but I had, one channel. And it was outside of the cell. So, you couldn't really hear it. So, I think one of the guys that came in there talked the sheriff into letting us get, a PS2 was out at the time.
Really?
Because he had wireless controllers. So we'd be sitting in our, the glasses maybe like this, that you can see the TV through. Yeah, so we'd be sitting next to each other, playing Grand Theft Auto and shit like that. And, he was only there for a few months. And then after that, he actually left it for me. But then the other problem was, my dad would be, bringing in new games or something for me. And there was a few slut guards I'd be really nice to, and guards that I'd be a total asshole to. So, I'd be covering up the camera, and obviously they hate that shit because they got to run back to see what's going on. I'd be like, oh, can you put a different movie in for me? I'm done with this game. Can we get a new game in there? And they did that for...
No, it's not an emergency. Can you change the...
Because they worry about the other guy in the cell. They see me putting the thing up, they're like, oh, shit. They run back there pretty fast.
Right. He just wants the channel change. No rape. He just wants the channel change.
So then eventually they got smarter, and they just got, direct TV out there. So, all right, well, we got your direct TV, so they got rid of the PlayStation, so now I just got a remote back there. Well, then there's a couple other times where my dad, it turns out, if you have a doctor's appointment, they have to get you to it. So my dad was making doctor's appointments for me. And when I got to the doctor, he prescribed me tennis shoes, prescribed me an actual mattress, and this stupid shit. It sounds a little bit like those are big differences if you're just sitting there all the time, compared to shitty little mattress and stuff. So that's how I was getting my way in the jail, was because the doctor was prescribing it.
Why were you so comfortable locked up after you ran to other states and a man fell down a muddy hill and... A lot of shit happened, Chris. Why are you so comfortable? I feel like you're doing too much in this jail.
Well, I should say the first month that I was in there, they were so pissed off that I left, and more pissed off that I actually ended up back in there. Mm-hmm. So they put me in a one-man cell with nothing. I didn't have anything. I had a bed and a pillow. After a little while, they gave me a pencil and a piece of paper. Literally nothing. They wanted to know I was being punished on top of being punished.
Oh, okay. So you had to build up to the PS2s and...
So after that, they put me in a little bit bigger cell, which was the 2-person cell, and then that's when, I started getting accommodated a little bit. And, their food was homemade. It was made, at the sheriff's kitchen and brought to us, right?
His wife or something make the food?
If his wife wasn't there, the guards would do it. So I don't know, they had some kind of schedule they would alternate, as far as getting the food for us made. And like I said, it's very few. It'd be, I think the most people that were in there, maybe 6 people at a time. Pretty much drunk drivers, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you get really good meals. And the one thing they knew I hated was I can't stand mustard. So for lunch almost every day, they'd give us bologna or buckshot sandwiches.
What's buckshot sandwich?
Honestly, I don't know. It looks like bologna, but it's 10 times worse. It's a bunch of different meats smashed together rather than just, a bunch of different animals smashed together. I don't know. It's spotted. It tastes fucking terrible. But that's like a go-to for the jails up there, and that's what they call it, is buckshot. And they would just smother that shit on there every time. The mustard every goddamn time. And then we'd get like one of the female guards would be there, and she'd be doing like actual like home cooked meals and stuff, like full meals for us, like be real nice about stuff. So then when you get the other guards, it pisses you off when that's all they're gonna bring you is like a shitty sandwich or something.
Well, if you're being a dick to them too.
Well, that's after the fact. They gave me reasons to be a dick to them.
Buckshot. Is that pimento loaf? I wonder. Is that?
I never heard it before.
It sounds like some shit. If somebody up there went hunting and they just killed multiple animals.
Right.
Fuck. So, I mean, how often did you see the judge or the guy that ran the jail? Did he could just walk through the jail like, hey guys, or what did you do all day? They make y'all work in a field or something?
Nope. They sure as hell weren't gonna let me out. That's.
Oh yeah.
No, there's nothing. I mean, some of the other smaller jails in the area, they have like a work crew you can get out on, but it has to be approved and everything. And I guess when they're in our area, they would take people, but I wasn't one of those people that was gonna get picked for that. So like, let's see. Maybe 10 months into the sentence, the sheriff was fed up with me. He didn't want me there. One day he comes over, pulls me out of my, my cell, and brings me to his office. Like, all right, well, this is unusual. Something's going on. So just starts chit-chatting with me, about the doctor's appointments, about what's going on, everything, why I'm such an asshole to some of his guards and stuff like that. And then he takes me outside. It's like, isn't it a nice day? I was like, yeah, can't see very well. It's kind of bright. It's a nice day out. He's looks around, starts walking around, walks me to the garage, and then he just walks around, turns, look at me like, why aren't you gonna run? It's like, I mean, that's what got us here in the first place. I was dumb then. I'm not gonna be dumb again. But I could if I wanted to.
You could.
You sure as hell couldn't catch me if you tried.
We
We already know that. He didn't like that comment. He grabbed my arm, fucking rushed me back into the jail.
You shouldn't have said shit. I think he'd have killed you though. He probably had a shotgun or something. Like he was like, "Why you ain't gonna run?" He probably was hoping you did run.
But I'm assuming his plan was to try and get me to do something again, or have me out there long enough he can accuse me of it, because he would rather me have been in prison than in his jail for that long.
He wanted
for all the problems I had.
else.
So eventually, the doctor prescribed me time out of my cell, which legally you're supposed to have. It's like 20 minutes. It's like 20 minutes a day to go, somewhere, fenced in, obviously somewhere. You can walk around or whatever, do a little bit of exercise. While they weren't doing that, so my doctor prescribed it. So their idea was to have the garage door closed and have me go in the garage, and they installed new cameras and everything, and I just walk laps in the garage. Well, I started being nicer to the sheriff. And I actually talked to him into letting my dad bring weights into the gym, because I had a full gym at home. So he was actually able to bring some weights so I could legitimately start working out. Well, I went about it in the wrong way, because the first thing I did was ask one of the guards if I could get weights. He's like, no, man, you can't have weights. You'd be throwing them at us or hitting us with them. That's dangerous. You can't have weights. I was like, all right, well. So sheriff brought me breakfast the next morning, and that's when I talked to him and asked him about the weights. He's like, yeah, no, sure, we'll call your dad and get those brought in.
So they let you bring them in.
They let us bring them in, but like, it was maybe a few weeks into weightlifting, and I actually started building, because that was the only fucking thing I was able to get out of my cell to do. And one of those cops came on, and I think I was curling maybe like 50-pound dumbbells at the time. And like I'm still like 145-pound scrawny guy, and I was in there for about 10-15 minutes doing these curls, and all of a sudden that cop comes in there, tells me to put the weights down and step away from him, and he drags me back to my cell and says, "You're done. You're never going in there again." It's like, that's messed up. Doctor prescribed this. She's like, "Yeah, but you're not supposed to have weights and shit like that." Like he was pissed off that the sheriff okayed it, and then eventually the sheriff got pissed off that he undermined his guys, because he didn't know that the other guard told me no. So, it was night shift, maybe 9-10 o'clock at night, and I was pissed off because, clearly I'm not going back in there. So my cell was like almost like an octagon shape. So there's like a door, the glass, wall, my bed, table, shower, sink, and then the door again.
So you don't even leave your room to
So-
shower.
Yeah, no, it's all in there. Yep. So I was just walking laps, and I was pissed off. So I would rattle. The beds are bolted to the floor and bolted to the wall. So I'd rattle my bed. I'd punch the desk. I'd hit the shower. I'd hit the wall. I'd hit the glass and the door and everything. And I just kept doing it over and over and over and over. Eventually, I ripped the bed out of the floor and cracked one of the glasses. And it was maybe 2 or 3 in the morning. And the sheriff comes down there just fucking pissed off, obviously in his fucking pajamas. He's like, what the fuck is your problem? He's like, your boy back there's my problem. He opened the trap door to talk to me, and I slammed my hand up on it, and I kept hitting everything with the one hand. So it was, it was about this big, purple, bloody. It's like, the little bitch behind you is why I'm pissed off. He's like, don't talk to my guys like that. He's like, why don't you come in here and talk to me about this? He's like, that's not a good idea. So, he got me to calm down a little bit because he wanted to go back to bed. So he came in and talked to me the next day. He looked at my hands like, your hand's fucked up. I was like, yeah, I should probably go see a doctor. He's like, all right, we'll get you to a doctor.
What they prescribed you? Just freedom.
Yep. So they, but that's when he found out that that had him undermine his guy about the weight stuff. And after that, they just had us, they would put us in another, like there was a couple cells over here and a couple cells over there with a hallway in between. So now their prescribed workout became just going to that little area to walk back and forth. It was maybe 10 feet. So you'd like take 3 steps that way and 3 steps back that way. And that's what they were allowing us to do from there on out.
For exercise.
So eventually I just stopped going. Like, that's a waste of fucking time. I got more walking around my cell than that.
In the octagon. You got more.
Yep.
So so that guy probably still. Have you ever seen him since?
The funniest thing that you asked that is after I got out, I was an assistant manager at a Little Caesars closer to the town where I lived. It was across the bridge in Houghton. And I can't remember how much longer it was after I got out, but eventually that guy came in with like a construction vest on, right? And here I'm thinking, oh shit, this guy's gonna be a dick to me now. So I gave him his pizza, he's talking, he's just all smiles. Like the dude is legitimately loving life. And we kept the chit chat to minimal, and then he told me like, oh, he quit that job. That job was terrible for him. It was not the career path. He wasn't making much money in it. He was pissed off all the time. It's like, I can tell you.
Yeah, not the oppressor.
Yep. But that was a positive conversation. The guy was happy. I was like, all right, good for him. That's
well, anything positive that happens in the Little Caesars is always good too, because typically they not in the best areas.
and that's a bigger guy too. He's probably like 6'2", 6'3", and just solid. Like he's probably the last guy that most people try to piss off. Like,
well, you know what I love? I love to see that. See, now, if I just told you all this story, you swear it was some inner city teenager. But it's a white guy from the UP near Canada, running from the police, dodging the law, going to jail. That's what
they were pissed off enough that on my last day they let me out as soon as it struck midnight.
It's like, get the fuck
here's
out.
your shit. Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out before you start banging on shit again. Go.
Because at one point they threatened to take away my good time. So within 4 more months I was there. It's like, you guys don't want me here for that much longer. I know damn well you're not going to take away that good time.
So at midnight, he was like, you was probably asleep too. They was like, get up.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah. I tried to get to bed early so I could, sleep and wake up and leave. But no, they woke me up. Your dad, they already called my dad. And he was already there to pick me up. Yep. It was.
And then, how long was it since then till you came here?
Since then.
Till you moved. How long did you stay there after you got out?
Oh, I was there for probably another 9-10 years.
Oh, so this was a while before you left.
Yep.
Then you couldn't do shit there though, right? Like,
no, there's that's why my buddy got me a job at Little Caesars as assistant manager, and I did that for a few years, and then eventually I went into the oil fields because there's no money in that hometown, And with a criminal record, believe it or not, there's still a ton of jobs in a small town that you can't get.
Yeah, I believe it.
Because by then I was getting towards the end of my criminal career, I guess, and I had like 6-7 felonies at that point, and it's extremely hard. Where you go in the oil field, you're like, oh, welcome. You know how to use tools? Like,
yeah. He's like, yeah, I've been in jail before. He's like, I killed the guy. You good?
But you don't realize that when you go out there. Most of them are. They're like
Yeah,
the
only-
shittiest people from all over the country. Are
Yeah, only
there.
certain people do that type of job. Usually it's the people with problems playing nice and shit.
But I went from, maybe 20, 25,000 a year at Caesars to 120, 130 a year out there.
Oh shit! So you came up,
Oh yeah.
changed your whole life.
And I've pretty much been out of jail since. Except there is one thing. So I was working 20 days on, 10 days off, right? So I'd be there and I'd drive back to Michigan from 10 days off. Well, what would happen is my last day of work, I would get off work, clean up, pack my stuff, and I would drive back home. So I'd get there and stay awake. I wouldn't miss my first day off. So it's like a 13, 14-hour drive. So I was driving through, I think I made it all the way to Duluth, Minnesota, and I figured there's a gas station right here. Normally it's open, but it was closed. It was a holiday gas station. So I just parked there, I just catch a couple hours of sleep. Woke up, cops knocking on my door. It's like, oh man, I'm just taking a nap. Just like, can I see some ID? Yeah, sure, why not? Here's some ID. I figured they're just gonna tell me to move it along or go back to bed or something. Well, it turns out while I was sleeping at that gas station, somebody broke into the gas station and left, and they were checking on me to see if I was the one that broke into the fucking gas station.
Jesus Christ. Why you go? I don't know why you parked there. I wish you'd asked somebody.
It's worse because while I was in Minnesota, living there in Rochester, I had kicked the shit out of a guy and got assault charges. Well, I thought I had paid the fine and, dealt with probation and stuff because, this has been a while. This is many years now since then because I left there to turn myself in, go back to Michigan and all that. Well, it turns out I owed some money still, and the last 7 years I had a warrant for me.
And you didn't know.
So they arrested me there in Duluth and carted me all the way down to Rochester, where I sat until court. And then I wasn't, because I made too much money, I wasn't supposed to get a court-appointed attorney. But the court-appointed attorney was there for everyone else for, this first hearing. He's like, everyone else is here. I'll just sit in for you anyway. It's like, all right, well, appreciate it. I figured this would be easy to deal with, pay it and be on my way. Well, then my case comes up, and it's a stand-in judge. The original judge is sick or out of town or something. Prosecutor's red in the face. She is so pissed off that I'm there and that she's like, we've been chasing him for 7 years now. I didn't even know this was going on.
She's like, we've been chasing him for, they think you a runner anyway.
Yep. So the thing is, they didn't know anything about the other stuff. They didn't know I got the other stuff. They didn't know I turned myself in, sat out. They didn't know anything about that. There was not one of them there knew it wasn't on paper for everything. All they knew was that assault charge I didn't pay my fine for. So she's over there trying to get the judge to give me 90 days.
For what? Just let me pay the money.
Right, that's what I mean. So but she was legitimately pissed off about the entire ordeal, and the stand-in attorney guy, he stood up and actually talked for me. I told him, I was like, man, if I'm in here, because I only had 10 days off, I'm here much longer, I'm going to lose my job. She wants me to lose, that good of a job over $150 fine or something like that. That's insane. So, judge explained that, and then he had me talk. I told him, this is the best job I'm probably ever going to get, honestly. If I can just pay the fine. I didn't even know I was supposed to be, I didn't know I had warrants. I didn't know y'all were looking for me. I drive through the state twice a month. If I knew I had warrants, I would have been taking a nap there. But so then he's like, all right, well, we're just going to have you pay the fine. Prosecutor's pissed off about that because she wanted me to sit 90 days. That's the max thing for the charge, is 90 days. So he's like, all right, well, your fine's, 150. We'll tack on an extra 100 for the trouble. And here I'm thinking, alone, that's a joke because they housed me for 4 days and then 3 days down there and had to pay cops overtime to drive me all the way down. I was like, hell, that's a deal. I'll pay that. He's like, can you pay it right now? I was like, if someone get me to an ATM, I could pay it. And then my dad stands up in the back. I didn't even know he's there. He's like, I can pay it for him. I look back, oh, hell, my dad's here.
Yo, your dad
he
is
said he'll pay.
Dude. Can I say that? Your dad is he stay at the jail, bro, all times a day, man.
Oh, because he was in North Dakota too, so it wasn't, it was maybe an 8-hour drive. Nothing great, but he's
a whole work day. But go ahead.
Yeah, because what happened was when they arrested me and got me in jail, everything, I was able to make a phone call, and so I called my girlfriend at the time, and I told her like, "You want to let our buddy know I'm not gonna be able to make it to breakfast today because we had breakfast plans." That's the only phone call I made. When I talked to her, I was like, "I'll deal with it and get home when I can." That's it. And I ended up being in jail for 7 of my 10 days off, and so I pretty much ended up just going back home, just going back to work. Like,
Getting out of jail, going back.
but on top of that, they impounded. I towed my car from the holiday. They impounded it at apparently the most expensive impound they could find, because like it was almost $1,000 to get my car back for being in there for 7 days.
And the fine.
And the fine.
And 7 days in jail.
Yep.
All right. Well, Jesus. That's a lot. I definitely look at you different. I feel like we kindred spirits. I ain't never done the shit you done. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm quiet. I don't. Once you get me talking, I'll talk.
Yeah,
but generally, I just sit back and listen to everyone else.
Fuck though, but just the whole AMC movie life thing, like that's some real shit though. But I really enjoy had you on. Unless you got something else, I really had you love to have you on again for sure. I want to get more people from the UP.
Well, I can't say they're all the same. It's
No. I know, but that's why I want to meet them. I want to know what
yeah.
the fuck in the water up there. I want to know what's going on. We gotta have a UP show, guys. Seriously, a real shit. I got to know what's going on up there, and why it's happening, and what can we do about it? I'm sure it's sweet people up there. But man, this has been another one, man. Thank y'all so much. Once again, y'all can catch us the Russ Parham Show. Once again, too, give it up for Chris. Once again, man, like incredible story, man. You see this shit in all seriousness, what we go through, man. You just never know. Just looking at a person on me, I'm just being real. Like you just never know what a person. Yeah, you clean up good. You do not look like a fugitive. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you never know what people been through. But it's what's more important is how you turned it around, and now you live in a whole different life. Yeah. So that's really what's important, though, man. But thank y'all so much for your continued support, man. Once again, you can catch us on TikTok, YouTube, man. Holla at us. You can follow me on Instagram too. Click in, man, and link up. Once again, the Russ Parham Show, man. We love y'all. Stay tuned for more content, baby. We love y'all. Peace.